Powered by Parry, the rebels of accountancy, this is the No Bull Podcast.
No Bull Podcast.
Our purpose, to disrupt, lead and make life count. We help entrepreneurial, like-minded businesses to thrive across the UK.
Welcome to this No Bull Podcast powered by Parry. I'm Steve Noss, Head of Creative. What can I say? We love an entrepreneur at Parry, and my special guest today is a truly awesome one. You'll hear how his business has flipped a traditional sector completely on its head. Shearer is co-founder and CEO at Superscript, the insurance business absolutely ripping it up in the tech space right now. For those not familiar with Superscript, how would you define your USP?
Hi Steve, thanks, and great to be here. Yeah, I mean, we're a small business insurance provider, as you mentioned, and I guess we really focus around flexibility, personalization, and price. You know, the flexibility to be able to get things covered fast, change your cover anytime. You know, perfect for the current environment that we're in, where there's a lot of volatility. Personalization, you know, not one size fits all. That was kind of the motto that we started with. You know, it's not about off-the-shelf products. This is about being able to really tailor the cover exactly for your needs as a small business. And of course, you know, where we can, we're as price competitive as we can be, and our model really lends into that as well.
I mean, I'm intrigued by your story, because you and Ben, both co-founders, very different backgrounds. Yours, I believe, advertising, software. Ben's different. Where did you meet? And I suppose what I'm trying to get at also is, are you both entrepreneurs at heart, or kind of is it a yin-yang thing? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, I probably was a little bit more of the entrepreneur at the beginning. We met in Australia. As you mentioned, I was in advertising. I have a quite a mixed background, actually. Education, tech. I used to work in IPTV broadcasting. And I think that kind of plays to that entrepreneurial personality, I guess. It's not about necessarily the sector for me. It's about the challenge and what you can look to overcome. And yeah, it was kind of a personal journey with trying to get insurance for the advertising agency I was with at the time, and that's where Ben came into the fold. And we were looking at the micro SME space and thought, hey, there's an opportunity here for us to connect the tech and underwriting worlds, I guess, and ultimately I think it's that combination of founders that gives us our success.
And so, just picking up on that, what brought you guys to London?
Oh, I think there was clearly a bigger market here. I mean, Ben just happened to be working in Australia at the time, and you know, London, the heart of insurance for the world, and a big market to go after, and you know, I thought it would be a great opportunity to cross to the other side of the world and do something over here. So yeah.
And I suppose, you know, in tech terms, developing your own software feels like a game changer, sounds like a massive game changer. Was that your intention right from the get-go?
Yeah, I don't think we really had any other choice. I mean, part of the big problem with why the insurance sector is so behind is because it's just rife with legacy systems. They're tying in the brokering, and they're tying in the carrier end. And so our model and the way that we wanted to operate with the different carriers and the way that we wanted to bring our proposition to market, we couldn't rely on any of the tech that existed. So yeah, I mean, it was fundamental to us being able to launch.
I mean, that kind of leads me nicely to I suppose a bigger concept, which is that of disruption. Mm-hmm. You know, at Parry, we love a bit of disruption. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of part of our, you know, DNA. And certainly my, you know, meetings with you and your team and exposure to your marketing and so on, I get a real sense that disruption is at the heart of what you do. Now, kind of that analogy has another area to it, because we operate in a very traditional sector, accountancy in inverted commas, and there's probably very few as traditional sectors as insurance. So kind of, was your approach deliberately, not just from a software point of view, but kind of to disrupt, to flip it, to kind of blow?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of insurtechs and a lot of businesses trying to enter quite a sector with a lot of history there, and go kind of guns blazing. You guys don't know what you're doing, and we're going to do it better. I think you have to be really compassionate to the history that exists there, the relationships that you need to have to be able to operate in quite a complex and regulated sector. So you really need to pick those battles. You need to be, working with the sector where it makes sense, and then really disrupting where you can add real value there.
And have you experienced much resistance in that respect, or kind of has it been surprising the other way?
Yeah, I think the value of having a co-founder with such a strong insurance experience has been really critical to us getting that right cut through to the right people in the sector. And I think that the sector really is primed for innovation. So they really love that there's somebody that understands their world but is also trying to do things differently. So they really, it's not hard to get people excited on board in that respect.
And I suppose, what a lot of people will be fascinated by is the kind of your funding journey and how it all started. And I know that, when you set up the business in the first place, it was, personal savings, kind of very, very, hand to mouth, I'm sure. But then since then, you've undertaken a kind of a whole series of funding rounds, including a recent, $10 million plus Series A. How have you found the whole kind of funding experience?
I think I often reflect on this, and I think I would definitely, if I've done it again, if I do it again, hopefully I will do it again, I would absolutely raise bigger and earlier. But I think that's also a bit tricky when you're quite green to the investor world and starting a new business. When we started out, I didn't even know, what a VC was really. I didn't really understand that world. So there was a lot of learning and educating in the early days there. It's not for every business either. I think once you start that funding journey, it really sets you on a particular path of growth. It is about that growth capital. You have to be prepared to grow fast and almost fail fast if it goes the other way. But I used to hate it at the beginning, absolutely, and I think I've come to enjoy it a lot more. But that also comes with success. If you can go out and show off your business and show all the great things that you're working with, then it's easier to tell a good story and get people excited about it.
So to kind of sum it up, I suppose, is that if you knew then what you know now, you would do it slightly differently, but it would have been a same sort of course.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, because obviously there's particularly in tech and insurtech, there is a lot of investment, and also you having the honesty to say, actually didn't really know what we were doing necessarily from day one. You have to learn really quick and then go again. That's it's a very, very, very powerful story.
The No Bull Podcast.
In terms of the model, something that, as consumers, we're all have become very familiar with kind of ubiquitous subscription models for everything, from our food to our music to our, TV consumption. In B2B terms, it's obviously less common. I love the notion that you kind of smash the whole sort of annual premium cycle of insurance, and that in a way the subscription model has allowed you to do that. Just tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, coming kind of from that tech world, it made absolutely no sense to a tech person why it wasn't already a subscription model. So right from the beginning, it was, let's make this flexible, that monthly kind of subscription SaaS style service. At the time, WeWork was really growing quite quickly, and the idea that you could rent an office for a month and not buy your insurance for a month just was a big misalignment for me. I absolutely think it's a differentiator. It's more or less important depending on sectors and business size. Smaller businesses see that differently to bigger businesses. But that model, whether or not it's the payment part of the model itself lends itself to more engagement with the customer. So you get more opportunities to engage with the customer, more touch points. And you can collect more data to kind of support the proposition and the growth.
So it becomes more and more tailored and more bespoke every time, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
And allows you to do quite interesting things more from a regular kind of integration point, which is definitely where I think insurance is heading and needs to head. That idea of embedding your insurance in other things. Having that model really lends itself to that way of working.
Powered by Cooper Parry, the No Bull podcast.
Another area that is kind of a key theme really around the workplace is culture. In terms of how central culture is to Superscript, do you see that? I mean, and I suppose taking a step back, what's happened over the last sort of 17 months in terms of you've not only been through a pandemic, we're still kind of coming out gently out the other side, but also you're growing as a business, growing fast. So how do you manage, in very, very trying circumstances when you're not actually even necessarily seeing your people face to face, how have you managed to retain such a strong culture?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually quite surprised how well we've done. When we started, before the pandemic, we were about 25 people, and we're now, I think, almost 70 people. So there's been some serious growth, and I was in the office yesterday and met for the first time somebody that's worked for us for 6 months but never met face to face. I think first of all, culture has to be top down. I think you hear that a lot, but it is absolutely true. I mean, it's really so important to Ben and myself that we have a good culture. So and actually it absolutely has to trickle down. The success through the pandemic, I think, has been really about perfecting our onboarding process. You need to expose and embed people into your culture ASAP. You can't postpone that thinking, we'll wait until we get back to the office, until we start to socialise and do things. I've had people that I've spoken to 2 weeks into their employment, and they've said, I was nervous about moving in a pandemic, but actually the first 2 weeks with your business has been more engaging and more exciting than the last whole year at my previous job. And to hear that, I mean, that's something that I'm really particularly proud of in our business. But yeah, I mean, you've got to also set expectations up front. I think moving into, we always knew, quite early on, I think we knew we weren't going to move to a fully remote, we were never going to be a fully remote business. It was always going to be moving to a hybrid style of business. And I think you need to set that expectation with people as you're going through the recruiting phase. You need to say, don't join our business if you're wanting to just stay at home. This is a business that thrives on social and face-to-face communication, engagement.
Yeah, and I suppose the phase we're in now, where we're gently unlocking phase, brings that sharply into focus, doesn't it? Because and getting the balance right between remote working, office working, and certainly collaboration feels like it's integral to your business. It certainly is to our business, and it's finding the balance that's right for the business and the individuals that seems to be seems to be at the heart of it.
Yeah.
In terms of your just picking up on some of the culture things there, in terms of your learnings, how have you defined your culture? Is it just through personal experience, or your personality, your individual ethics? What are your kind of sounding boards for developing and shaping your culture?
I don't really know. I mean, I was actually talking about this yesterday and kind of reflecting on the previous businesses that I've worked at, and I've been in some really toxic environments, and I guess I try to break down how that sort of starts to manifest, and what can we be doing to sort of avoid that kind of thing. Gossiping, politics, all that sort of stuff. I think it absolutely is something that can grow over time if you don't, get it sorted up front. I'm a pretty transparent guy. If there are issues, it's about getting people together and talking through them before it becomes kind of that deeper, toxic environment, I guess. So that's definitely my mantra. It's about having a leadership team as well that is going to, follow that same sort of principle and, get that through the business.
Absolutely, I get that completely.
The No Bull Podcast.
Another thing, and I was lucky enough to see one of your posters the other day. You've just undertaken a really exciting above-the-line advertising campaign, which again, for B2B is really bullish, and I love it. There's a real attitude to it. How has that panned out, and have you ruffled feathers along the way? I'd like to hope so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about ruffling feathers, but I think beyond just the intention of engaging with customers and building brand awareness, it is amazing how many people see this stuff. I get calls from partners. I think we've won partnership deals off the back of it. Carriers, stakeholders. I've got a lot of people commenting on it. It has landed absolutely very well. It's right through the UK. Last year, when we rebranded from Digital Risk to Superscript, we just ran our first campaign in London. As a smaller business, sort of at our stage, you can do better analytics. It's always difficult to do analytics on above the line, but brand recall was clearly prevalent there, and it proved the success of that. So this campaign is about building on that. As part of that rebrand, we sort of bedded down our principles, and one of our principles is to be unexpected, and I think our creative and our tone of voice really comes through in this campaign. Alongside that.
Absolutely, and you just touched on something there that as part of the rebrand, if you like, you evolved the name from Digital Risks to Superscript. Yeah. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I mean, in a practical sense, I think digital always had a bit of a shelf life. Risk is a bit of a negative word, so I mean, I think it was a great name to get us started with, but we always knew we needed to change. It was just picking the right time to make that change. From a proposition point of view, we started with digital and media businesses, and now we are about serving every SME. Every business is now digital anyway, so dropping the digital element of that. But I guess probably more importantly for me is that we've had 5 years of building the team, working out who we are, working out what our true purpose is as a business, what we stand for, the principles that we want to live up to, and all of that was injected into Superscript and the process of building out that really.
Powered by Cooper Parry, the No Bull Podcast.
And as part of that, and aligning it with the campaign and the vision and so on, how do you see the Superscript journey going? I mean, do you just see it as a vertical kind of rocket launch, or do you see it as kind of obviously considered and phased, but what are your big ambitions for Superscript?
I mean, we definitely have global ambitions. So I think there's a lot to do in the UK. Like I said, starting with one sort of niche sector and then kind of rolling those same learnings and successes, I guess, across different industries. We absolutely want to be that brand that is known for SME insurance. I think if you look at kind of the brands that are out there, the Avivas, the AXAs, they're household name brands, but they're not really just known for small business insurance. In fact, they're more known for life and car and home and all that sort of stuff. So again, sort of bringing my advertising background into the fold here was really about that ownable territory of SME insurance and being the name that people recall when they think, where am I going to get insurance? And absolutely, we want to do that beyond the UK as well over time.
Fantastic. Right, just before we wrap, I'd like just to run through some quick fire questions, if you don't mind. And I suppose they're just so that we and listeners get an insight into Cam the man. So I'm going to fire away. So in terms of, these are all either or, Musk or Bezos?
Musk, but I think increasingly debatable.
What makes you say that?
Oh, I watching his SNL segment. I mean, I think, for me, I've always, I think it's interesting seeing how some of these big successful founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs sort of make their kind of way into stardom, I guess, and the public kind of life. I think you can let ego get away with you a bit, but I mean, I love everything that he does from a commercial business perspective.
Yeah. Okay, next one up. Tinny or wine, or even something else?
Tinny, probably.
Yeah.
Aussie.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Live gig or streaming?
Oh, I mean, I think I've streamed enough for the past 18 months, so it's absolutely a live gig. I did see the Glastonbury live, well, actually not live, but the live, virtual live thing, which was actually quite impressive, but nothing beats going to the real thing.
And you were able to get on it because there was a lot of...
No, not for the first 45 minutes,
right.
but you could start again.
Yeah, but I love the innovation
Yes.
and what they tried to achieve, and actually I think, like you, did achieve with a sort of kind of fairly strange hybrid model.
I was surprised how enjoyable, I guess, it was.
Yeah.
And obviously if you've got a big projector and a good sound system.
Okay, next one up. Gym or park run?
Gym.
Why?
I mean, I love jumping on the treadmill. A lot of people think that's weird. Why would you jump on a treadmill when you can run around outside? But it's really a deep thought time for me. I can really just kind of focus on, the running just takes care of itself, and I guess the kind of endorphins sort of help. I overcome so many problems on the treadmill. Just get into a bit of a zone.
Okay, and then a more relaxing one, Netflix or the cinema?
Well, same as live gigs, I think, I'm dying to get back to the cinema. I think I've exhausted Netflix now.
I think we all have. Yeah. Although it's incredible, I'm constantly amazed by the volume of content that they're able to generate and continue to generate.
Yeah.
Well, thanks ever so much, Cam. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm sure our listeners to this No Bull podcast will have absolutely loved it. And I, for one, can't wait to see the next chapter in your journey, and I know you're absolutely going to smash it.
Thank you, Steve. It's been great.
Thanks a lot.
You've been listening to the No Bull podcast. Share your thoughts. Find us on LinkedIn and send us a message. And subscribe to get notified of future episodes.